Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is gonna be video number 4 of the Wexner deposition. Hopefully the audio's a little bit better. I'm trying to adjust things, but anyway, I didn't realize how low it sounded whenever he was talking. But we're gonna go ahead and start it right here. We're at about 3 hours and a minute, and let's go ahead and get started here. They're off the record, by the way.
We can go back on the record. Welcome back. Got just a couple of follow-ups about some things you've already touched on. The New York City house. Do you remember when Epstein first had some kind of ownership interest in the home? I think he may have said after 1993.
Yeah, but I sold it to him, but I don't remember the date.
The sale is reported as 1998. As far as you know, would that be the first time that Mr. Epstein had any kind of ownership of the home?
Do you know? I don't know. I was just thinking, you could tell me any date. I know it was after we were married. And whether it was a year or two, I don't remember.
But was that 1993?
We got married in 93. Yes.
Do you recall at all Mr. Epstein talking about why he wanted the home?
No.
With respect to the home, I think you were asked whether you felt like the sale price was a fair deal for you. And I think your answer was yes. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, that's right.
And with respect to the plane, I think you were asked whether you felt like the company got a fair deal at $6 million. And I think you said yes. Is that right?
Yes, that's because that was the asking price.
I think your counsels represented to DOJ in 2019 that Mr. Epstein sold himself both those assets at deeply discounted prices, and that was part of his theft from you.
I never heard that before.
Do you have any sense of why that discrepancy would exist?
A confused old man or a really good actor? Who knows?
In terms of Mr. Epstein's repayment to you, I think your counsels also represented that he repaid you about $100 million in 2008. Would you have any knowledge of exactly how much he repaid you or how?
No.
There were a few other physical assets I just wanted to quickly touch on.
Sure.
There was a second home in New York City at 11 East 71st Street. So it's right next to the home that we've been discussing. And it sounds like you bought the home in 1988. Epstein bought the home from you in 1992. Do you have any recollection of that home?
Is that the one Howard lives
two
in?
homes in New York that were next to each other?
Yeah, right next to it. The address for this one would have been 11 East 71st Street.
No recollection of that happening.
There was and still is a condo building at 301 East 66th Street in New York. It's been reported that Epstein lodged many of his victims at that building. The reporting has also been that you once owned that building and that you sold it to Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, in the early 90s. Do you have any recollection of that?
The building or the condo?
The building.
No.
No recollection. With respect to, I think, what we understand to be two homes in New Albany that Mr. Epstein owned at one point or another. So there was first a home on the 7500 block of King George Drive that Epstein received from you in 1990. Do you have any recollection of that home?
I know he bought a house from Jeff Kessler This is the one we'd mentioned before. That's the only one I know about.
Got it. This, I think, is a separate home and was earlier in time.
No.
Okay.
No recollection.
That second home, I think you mentioned that Mr. Epstein bought it from Mr. Kessler. I think that the documents show that it was a company that Epstein bought the home from, and I'll represent to you that it was you who signed the deed to Epstein. Would you have any knowledge about why that might have been the case?
I understand the question. I signed the deed to sell the house to Jack, to sell Jack Kessler's house to Jeffrey.
Yeah, and it was in your capacity representing an entity of some kind that seems to have been associated with yourself and Mr. Kessler.
Just shocking.
Okay.
Does it occur to you that stuff like that could be just forgeries?
I think in this case,
Yes,
not
questions. No, I mean, I just like, it's okay. Me signing a deed to somebody else's house is just.
It's okay.
Okay, absolutely.
And the entity for that sale was JW and CPK and Company. Does that ring any bells for you?
No.
What is the history of that home, if you recall? In other words, was it originally built for Mr. Kessler to live in? Was it his primary residence?
Yeah.
And what do you recall as the purpose of the sale to Mr. Epstein? Why would Jeffrey Epstein, why did he buy that home, if you recall?
First, I didn't recall it. Bought it. I don't remember that. I know Jack had financial problems, and he came to me and said, "I've got problems. I got to sell my house." That's all I recall about it. I don't think I was ever in the house.
Do you recall Epstein purchasing it at the time? Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't.
I'd like to ask a little bit about your personal relationship with Mr. Epstein. Some of the reporting has described you as close. I think that's been mentioned earlier today. I would just like to ask about a few examples that have been reported and just understand your knowledge of that.
Sure.
The New York Times, for example, has reported that sometime in the late 80s, Mr. Epstein managed the design and construction of your yacht, the Limitless. Do you have any recollection of that being the case?
Furthest thing from the truth.
Not true.
I worked on the design for 10 years, me. And it took 3 years to build the yacht. And the only person that was there beside me watching the construction was Abigail. Period.
And a gentleman who represented himself to the New York Times as your former captain, Craig Tafoya, seemed to be of the understanding that Mr. Epstein had a role in designing the yacht. Mr. Tafoya, from your point of view, Mr. Tafoya is simply mistaken.
Absolutely mistaken. If you wanted to, I can draw it in detail for you right now.
The Wall Street Journal has reported that Mr. Epstein would sometimes do personal tasks for you, such as helping your wife Abigail find a nanny or showing up at a restaurant with a gift for a mutual friend. Do you have any knowledge or recollection of those types of activities?
Never happened.
No recollection, or you believe that those things did not happen?
I have no recollection and believe they never happened.
Vanity Fair has reported that Mr. Epstein once broke up with a woman for you here in Columbus by going to her house. This, of course, is before you met your wife. Do you have any knowledge or recollection of that?
No. Did I break up with a woman? Yes.
Did Mr. Epstein perform the act directly or indirectly?
No.
What the heck?
like to introduce as Minority Exhibit G. An email from 2006. I'll give you a moment to look at it. I'll only be asking about a very short part, but feel free to scan it. What it looks like is an email from Mr. Epstein to somebody with a limited brands address, D. Larson. I don't know if you would have an idea of who that probably is.
My admin, Don Larson.
Great.
Do we have a chance to just read the email?
Sure, of course.
Thanks. But I knew the word this time.
And at a certain point, I'll just direct your attention to a sentence.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just, he's not on this, so.
Yeah. So at the very end of this email, Mr. Wexner, I would say close to the very end, there's a sentence that starts with, I believe that this information. And if you see that, I'm sure your counsel can guide you to it. And I'll read that out loud. This is a long email. It seems to relate to business topics and people. But Epstein signs off by saying, I believe that this information belongs to you, and under gang stuff rules, I cannot simply be the repository of people's hushed calls and not share with you. And the subject of the email is, for Les's eyes only, please do not circulate. So the phrase gang stuff rules, is that a familiar phrase to you in this context?
Jeffrey was like a Brooklyn guy. He, in hindsight, he didn't use words like have a confidential discussion or my opinion or this is secret or private or confidential, personal things that lawyers or accountants might use in normal language. He would say, this is gang stuff.
Got it. So
that was just how he talked.
So it was a phrase that Mr. Epstein would use to mean confidential conversations.
To me, yes.
Okay. And this,
I don't think I never used the other words, which in hindsight, I didn't. Like my wife would never say, it's between us, dear. You know, that we just, they're words or phrases that you associate with some people. And to me, it was just kind of funny that this Brooklyn guy would talk about gang stuff, and you know, gang stuff might be what he ate for dinner or something.
Would he use that phrase pretty commonly, whether it's in a verbal conversation or a written email?
I don't specifically remember, but I don't think he ever said confidential or private. It was like his language.
Thank you. With respect to, we can move on from that email. With respect to the power of attorney that gave Mr. Epstein 1991, I know it was discussed earlier. Could you just flesh out for us a little bit the theory of an unfettered power of attorney? In other words, it wasn't conditional or restricted to a particular account or particular type of asset. It covered, as we understand it, all of your assets, which is an enormous, I think, step of trust. What is your recollection of why you made that choice?
But I think power of attorney is that. So the notion of having a limited power of attorney was kind of, and it's just not how I would think about it. So Harold had a power of attorney, Jeffrey had a power of attorney, Dennis Hirsch had a power of attorney because they needed it to do their work.
And that's the advisor, as you recall, it sounds like the previous advisor before Mr. Epstein and the subsequent advisor after Mr. Epstein both had the same scope of power of attorney.
I don't know specifically, but I would think they were. I don't recall what the words say, but I think power of attorney is that.
We've seen reporting, I think in the New York Times, that you accompanied Mr. Epstein to visit the White House in 1993, a few months after President Clinton took office. Do you have any recollection of that?
Actually, didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Well, I've been at the White House, but the only time I was at the White House when Clinton was president, he invited a group of like 20 CEOs from around the country to get feedback on the economy. And that was said. I was there like the president of like one of the lumber companies, the chairman of JP Morgan, Sears, companies like that. I was kind of the smallest fish in that bowl, but it was that purpose.
And Mr. Epstein was not present.
Of course not.
So, as far as you know, you did not visit the White House under any administration with Mr. Epstein.
I never visited the White House under any administration, under any circumstance with Mr. Epstein. That I'm positive of.
The New York Times has also reported that at your 59th birthday party, Mr. Epstein acted as sort of a master of ceremonies. He would give toasts and introduce guests and arrange for some people such as Alan Dershowitz and Shimon Peres to attend. Do you recall the party that I'm describing?
Well, Shimon was at a couple of birthday parties. I don't remember Jeffrey being there. If the party was in Columbus, I probably can remember 4 or 5 of the people that were there, and it was a surprise too.
Do you recall, I suppose at any birthday party, but that one in particular, Mr. Epstein playing that sort of a role as a master of ceremonies of sorts?
No, I'm thinking even at the party that I was thinking about, the Shimon Peres, I don't, if you ask me who was there, he wouldn't have been on the list. It's not who I remember. It was a different kind of group of friends that Abigail picked to come to the party.
But to the original question, do you recall Mr. Epstein ever acting as a master of ceremonies at a birthday party for you?
No, absolutely not. Never. You keep quoting the New York Times. It's a good thing I don't read newspaper very often.
Fake news.
That's crazy.
Or is he just not remembering it? What is it?
I'd like to introduce as Minority Exhibit H. I'll give you a moment to look this over. It's just one page. So this is a file that was part of the recent DOJ release, and it's some kind of draft or fully composed email from Mr. Epstein. It appears to be intended for you. We do not have knowledge of whether you ever received it. Did you ever receive this email? Sorry, just for the record, did you ever receive this email?
I never received this email. Letter or whatever it was.
Understanding that you have not received it and therefore have not previously seen it, is that correct?
Other than anything that council may have shown.
I would like to touch on a few discrete parts of it. Mr. Epstein, at one point early in the email, says that, quote, "I owe a great debt to you as frankly you owe to me." Would you have any sense of why he might feel that way in general? Did he ever express that type of a sentiment to you?
No. When I saw this, like, I know what you do or people do, they write letters to the file. I've never written one, like a memo to myself. And so I read this and I thought, this is like cover your ass kind of thing. And this doesn't even sound the way he speaks. And just nonsense in it.
He also said, quote, "As I'm sure you recall, you didn't sit with your mother or sister or Sharon when the conflict arose, as I did it for you. You didn't sit with Jack Kessler, Stanley, or Stanley's son. I did it for you."
What are we talking
Do you have any sense of what Mr. Epstein might be referring to there?
Well, I don't know what he's referring to about my mother or my sister. I know who Sharon was. Stanley, I presume, was our previous attorney, Stanley Schwartz, and his son worked in our business and, worked in it until he retired. So that I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
Did you ever ask Mr. Epstein to mediate a dispute or otherwise insert himself into a dispute with the individuals he mentioned here, your mother or sister or Sharon, for example?
No.
Mr. Epstein also says that, quote, "Abigail and I sat, she asked many questions, she made many unfair, aggressive, and false accusations, none of which could have been fully answered without violating a confidence with you." Firstly, do you have an understanding of what he's referring to in terms of Abigail and he having a conversation?
My wife and I had no secret, so the fact that he's having a secret, it's just nonsense.
He goes on to say that you and I had gang stuff for over 15 years, a great deal of it that she was unaware of. I had no intention of divulging any confidence of ours, no matter what accusations she made. So Mr. Epstein at least seems to be asserting that there was something confidential between you and he that your wife was not aware of. Do you have any sense of what that might be?
No.
Probably their
I'm gonna
business
object to the whole
dealings
thing.
or
This is
money.
why we have the hearsay rule, but keep going.
Mr. Epstein goes on to say that, quote, "I always told you I would never under any circumstances give it up or put you in harm's way, no matter who, what, or when." Do you have any sense of what he might be referring to there? And I'll need a verbal audible.
No, absolutely not. And this is cover your ass psychobabble as far as I'm concerned.
I'd like to do one more exhibit on your personal relationship with Mr. Epstein. So this will be Minority Exhibit I.
His eyes. He was like, "What the hell are y'all doing?"
I'll just tell you briefly what this is.
Well, good.
It's long and you're not going to have to read it. It's a PowerPoint presentation that the FBI put together. It looks like within the last year, summarizing their investigations into Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It's just their summary of the steps they took during their investigation and who was charged with what. That's what the document is. There is one page of the document that mentions you, and I'll direct you to that. It is all the way toward the back.
So I've never seen an FBI document, but I think it should be given the shit to me.
So there's one page towards the back that ends in 956. I think it's the third from the last page of the presentation.
There's an earlier reference on 949.
Ah, right, confirming the proper. Apologies, there is. Agreed.
Which page want me to look at?
Ending in 956, the only substantive mention of you.
Yes.
You can see this is a slide that's titled Prominent Names, and it's naming some prominent individuals who have some connection or link to Mr. Epstein. Your name appears in the middle column, all the way down at the bottom. And under Les Wexner, it just has one entry. There's a name that's redacted, and its redacted name stated, Epstein earned his money from having homosexual sex with Wexner.
What?
I know you were asked this question earlier, but in the context of this FBI report, is it correct that you did not have any sexual or romantic relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Absolutely not, or any man ever. I'm very straight, super straight.
Thank you.
That's wacky.
That's wacky.
Don't get to keep that. No, I just never read an FBI before.
Gosh.
But thank you, Mr. Wexner, for your testimony here today. Just wanted to start with a question around U.S. Senator John Husted, and it's been reported that you gave him something like $117,000 in donations. Is that correct?
I think you mean John Houston.
John Husted, yep.
I don't know how much money I gave him.
Would that sound about right? It's a substantial sum.
Well, I'm thinking I met John when he was a state representative. I'm sure I helped him politically. He ran for a lieutenant governor. I probably contributed to his senatorial campaign. So is it possible over time I would have given him that much money? It is.
I mean,
But I don't
I think
remember.
it was recently reported that you gave him $117,000 sometime shortly before he voted no on releasing the Epstein files. Would that sound familiar?
No.
No. Did you or any of your representatives ever lobby Senator Husted or anybody else in the federal government to prevent the release of materials related to Jeffrey Epstein files?
Absolutely not.
Did you or your representatives ever request that the Department of Justice redact your name in any files?
No. Absolutely not.
Wanted to move on. Now, I remember the document you, with reference a little earlier, mentioning former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Did you ever have a relationship with the former Prime Minister?
Can you define relationship?
Sure. Do you guys any relationship? Do you know Do you know Prime Minister Barak? How, if so, can you elaborate on how familiar you were with him?
Well, I was only with him a couple or 3 times in my life. I happened to be in Israel when he was elected, but before he was sworn in as prime minister. We had a brief meeting in his political office. It wasn't the government office. May have met him in Israel when he was prime minister, but I don't recall. I know that I had dinner with him and I think his wife and daughter and Abigail in New York after he was out of office. I don't think he was prime minister.
Did you ever communicate with the Prime Minister outside of personal meetings, phone calls, emails?
He came here once. I think for Jewish community stuff, when we went to a football game, that's all I remember.
Did you ever communicate by email or phone call or other correspondence?
No, I don't think I ever had his address or phone number, or email address, or text number, or whatever.
Are you aware of the Wexner Foundation or any other trusts or foundations or organizations affiliated with you ever donating money to the former prime minister?
No.
Would it surprise you if I told you that an FBI report stated a report that the Wexner Foundation transferred at least $2.3 million in US dollars to former Prime Minister Ehud Barak?
Shock.
Shock. I want to move to a different topic here. Are you familiar with the gentleman named Richard Adrian?
Who?
Richard Adrian.
No.
Do you remember anybody being a bodyguard from you by that name?
No.
No, 1991 to 1992?
No.
How many bodyguards have you had over the course of your career?
I don't know.
Hundreds, dozens?
Not hundreds, but
Dozens. Okay, now, Mr. Adrian reported that he had accompanied you between 1991 and 1992 when he was your bodyguard to Epstein's Palm Beach home. Does that sound familiar at all?
Objection, that's not what it says.
That he accompanied Mr. Epstein, Mr. Wexner to Epstein's property? And
No, it doesn't say that. Are you looking at the,
EFTA 12-4-1249-191?
yeah, it should.
I don't have it in front of me, but
It says that he did accompany him,
Mhm.
and it says the bodyguard was at the Epstein residence. It
Mhm.
doesn't say the bodyguard was at the Epstein residence with Mr. Wexner.
I'm sorry. Did you ever accompany the bodyguard to Epstein's Palm Beach home?
everywhere I went, I had security.
And so would it surprise you then, I believe that this is correct, that the bodyguard said that he noticed a number of young girls there, noticeably young. You've never seen young girls at the Epstein property?
But I was only there once for an hour and visited with my wife and another couple.
I have one last question, and I'll take it back. You mentioned a couple of times that you received $20 million for the mansion on 71st Street in Manhattan. How was that money transferred to you?
I don't know.
You don't know. Like nobody. How do you know it's ever paid to you?
Well, I guess Abigail would have known.
Abigail would
Whether it was a check or it was a money order, whether it was a bag of money. I had no
So
idea.
$20 million. You just like take someone say so for it.
No, $20 million is a lot of money, and airplanes cost a lot of money too. And I don't know exactly how we paid for them, or if we sold an airplane, exactly how we got paid. But we bought and sold personally a few airplanes. And I don't, if you ask me the same question, I don't know.
And so I think we have a number of media references, New York Times, I think the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, all noting that no cash was transferred at the time of a central transaction. No exchange of money was noted at the time. So do you have any records, like after the fact, after you learned that Jeffrey Epstein, as you put it, stole from you? Did you ever look into how that money was transferred to you?
No.
No, didn't strike your interest, even though you knew that Jeffrey Epstein was stealing from you.
Once I knew he was stealing from me, it was, again, my wife is a very competent business attorney with good accountants. I believe good counsel, and it's not what I do. And I don't go back and, if I fired somebody in the business, I didn't follow them to see if they behaved badly again, they were done. That's just.
Let me then follow up and ask, did your wife ever mention to you that how the money was transferred?
No.
Or that it was transferred?
Objection is to spousal privilege, but it's already answered.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Wexner, Steve Lynch, Medical Visit. How long did you know Mr. Epstein? When did you first meet him?
I think they asked me that question earlier before you joined this group. I think it was like 5 years before I got married, about early 80s, I would guess.
Early 80s?
I think so. I don't remember precisely.
And all the time that you knew him, and he worked for you, he was your power of attorney, handled a lot of really important things in your life. Did you Do you remember him ever having a romantic interest or women in your presence as his guests or associates?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier too, the first one was Dr. Ava Anderson. I met her, and Jeffrey said
What was that?
when I first met her, whenever that was, in the
80s?
early 80s. And my understanding, because meeting her, that Ava was a very attractive woman. I think she was in med school, so yeah, and so she was a serious person, and
Yeah.
she's a serious person. She's an oncologist. She's married. She has children.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how many years later he broke up with Ava, and Glenn came into his life probably about the time I got engaged. And
When was that, sir?
I got engaged I got engaged on September 8th, 1992, because I got engaged on my birthday.
And so at that point, Mr. Epstein's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell was romantic at the time.
It was about then that I met her, and they said they were going to get married. And it was, I was getting married. Jeffrey was getting married, so it seemed like everybody was going to be in Happy Valley in terms of their life, and both women. They were grown-up women. Ghislaine is exactly the same age as Abigail, and very smart. She said she was like an honors graduate of Cambridge or Oxford, and quite charming, and English accent, and an attractive woman. So I was very happy for them.
Do you ever remember spending time with Epstein and any of his other romantic interests or girlfriends, especially younger women in your presence?
No, that there were no others that I was present that were mentioned.
Ever in his presence with women who may have been of teenage or minors?
I thought about that. What did I miss about this guy? And I don't think I was ever with him, or he was ever with anyone. It's vague in my memory that I would say was under the age of 28, 30. I mean, he was with adult women, or women that they looked adult. They said they were a lawyer and accountant or something.
I know this name has come up earlier in the deposition, Virginia Giuffre, I'm sorry. Do you recall ever meeting her in Jeffrey's presence?
Absolutely no. I don't.
Or Virginia Roberts, I think, her maiden name?
No, absolutely not.
How about Miss Farmer? I thought Miss Farmer might have made allegations about something that happened here on your property.
We've actually covered it. It wasn't his property, it's an adjacent property.
An adjacent property. Thank you for the clarification. Or certainly.
Gotcha.
No.
All these questions are.
No.
Was that Mr.
Kessler?
Whose property is next door? I'm sorry.
My friend was business partner in New Albany, Jack Kessler.
So no women who seem unusually young then?
Absolutely.
Okay. We also understand from your counsel's proffer that you interacted with a number of other prominent people who knew and had dealings with Epstein, including Prince Andrew, various professors at Harvard, perhaps a sultan of some sort in Dubai, perhaps Howard Lutnick. With respect to Prince Andrew, who has also been accused of sexual misconduct in connection with at least one woman trafficked by Mr. Epstein, did you ever see or become aware of this interaction between Prince Andrew and one of these young women?
I never met Prince Andrew. So I wasn't aware of anything other than,
No chatter about that in terms of, you're dealing with either introduced by Mr. Epstein or by Ghislaine Maxwell. That whole interaction between those two and Prince Andrew.
I had-
For that?
I had no conversations, interactions with Prince Andrew about women or anything. I had one brief, like 2-sentence phone conversation. He called me here in Columbus.
What was that for?
To me, it's a funny story. I'm getting ready to go to work. I think I was in the garage. And my wife or somebody came out and said, "You have a phone call." Maybe it wasn't my wife, but it was somebody. And he said, "It's a guy that says he's the Duke of York." And I thought, the Duke of York, what the hell's that? So I went in the kitchen, hello, and this is Andrew. I don't think he said, "This is Andrew Duke of York. This is Andrew Windsor," or whatever he called himself. And I said, "Hello." And he said, "I helped my mother buy her airplane. And I know that you buy and sell airplanes. So if I could be of service with you in airplane transactions, I could help." And I said, "No, thank you. We're covered. Have a nice day." And hung up. Just kind of laughed my ass off that the Duke of York called me. But
So he cold called you to sell you an airplane or to help you buy an airplane?
it was airplane advice because he helped his
Plane
mother.
that eventually sold to Mr. Epstein?
Oh, no. It was just, it had nothing to do with anything that's going on. It was like, I know that you buy and sell airplanes in your business. I know you have buy an airplane personally, and I know you buy and sell airplanes. And when you do, if you need an advisor, I'm available. It's like, no, thank you, I'm covered.
So he offered to advise you on purchasing the airplane.
Pardon? Did he?
He offered to advise you? I'm just trying to understand why the Prince of York would be calling you about.
Yeah, me too. It was like out of the blue. I mean, you could have called me up that day and said you were the Prince of York and you want to advise me on my lunch or something. It was like, what the hell is this?
If you would have recognized the difference in accents.
Yeah, maybe. And in respect to those other figures who I mentioned, did you ever see or become aware of any prominent academic figures or this so-called Sultan of Dubai or Howard Lutnick or any other notable person being introduced to young women by either Epstein or Maxwell?
Well, I never met Howard Lutnick. I just didn't know his name until he became popular or in the news.
Yeah, his name's extensively in the.
Yeah, so
You're wrong.
but anyway, I just never heard his name, didn't know him. Some of the people that were on that list, I knew their names, and some of them introduced themselves to me.
But that wasn't his
I
question.
understand. Wasn't it?
No,
Oh, because you asked me, I thought you asked if I knew the same.
Any other of those prominent individuals, were you aware that either Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell was facilitating introductions or contact between those
Absolutely not.
individuals and young women?
No, absolutely.
And you yourself, sir, never had physical contact with any of these young survivors or victims, as they are alternatively called, these young men?
Never, ever.
Right, and that's all I have. Thank you.
There's two more, then I'll give you a break. First, with respect to the birthday note that we looked at earlier, for Mr. Epstein's birthday, making sure we have your testimony if it's that. You signed the note, your friend, but Mr. Epstein was not ever actually your friend from your point of view. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you do not have any understanding of why you would sign that card, your friend.
I think it's sending a birthday note to somebody, say your friend or something, I would just sign my name. It'd be like I don't know. It's not a salutation, is it? It's the end of a letter, something. Yours truly best, something like that.
Do you recall ever drawing a pair of women's breasts on any correspondence with any other business associate of yours?
No.
We can go off record.
We will go on the record. It's 3:12 p.m. Mr. Wexner, I am going to ask you to bear with me for a second. I have a list of names. I will ask you one question that applies to the entirety of the list, and you will just answer yes or no. And if you answer yes to one of the names, we will come back to further explore that name. Does that make sense?
I think so. Let's try it, see how it works.
So the question is, have you ever had a conversation with any of the following people about Jeffrey Epstein, his crimes, his criminal investigations, or in regard to sexual activity of any kind?
Okay, so not have you ever had a conversation with them, but have you had a conversation with them about those topics? Do you want to repeat it so that we are solid here?
Sure. Have you ever had a conversation with any of the following people about Jeffrey Epstein, his crimes, his criminal investigations, or in regard to sexual activity of any kind? First name is Elin Maxwell.
No.
Richard Kahn.
No.
Darren Endike.
No.
Sarah Kellen.
No.
Leslie Groff.
No.
Nadia Marcinkova.
No.
All the assistants.
Kathy Rumler.
No.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew.
No.
Peter Mandelson, former UK ambassador to the United States. Stephen Hoffenberg.
No.
John-Luc Brunel.
No.
Jess Staley.
No.
Paul Morris.
No.
Stephen Cutler.
No.
Mary Casey.
No.
Justin Nelson.
No.
Leon Black.
No.
Glenn Dubin.
No.
Eva Anderson Dubin.
Kind of put those as question marks because I think I'll tell you the answer later because I want to be complete.
Understood.
You know,
Bill Gates.
no,
Any person elected or appointed to any federal office.
no,
Any foreign government officials.
no,
So you said you wanted to clarify on Glenn Dubin and Eva Anderson Dubin. Have clarification on that?
yeah. I know both of them. I met Ava and I thought she and Jeffrey were engaged and going to get married. And I met Glenn at Harvard, I don't know, 10, maybe 20 years ago. Because he was acquainted with someone there. And I was at David, it might have been David Gergen's funeral, something like that. And I saw them and I hadn't seen them in 10 or 15 years. And they said hello and said something that's, isn't this a shame? What happened to Jeffrey? And I said, yeah, it's a shame, something like that. It was that vague. But most of the names that you mentioned, I've never heard before. I don't know those people.
With Glenn Dubin, you said it was 10 to 20 years ago at Harvard. When you mentioned Eva Anderson Dubin, you said you thought she was engaged to Jeffrey Epstein. Do you know approximately when that was?
At the time I got engaged to have the girl, so in about 92.
Okay.
But I haven't seen either of them until David Gergen's funeral for maybe a decade. I haven't talked to them, never socialized with them.
Can we just clarify something? Because I think you previously testified that when you met Miss Maxwell, it was around the time of your engagement to Abigail.
Right, didn't I just say that?
No, you were talking about Ava Anderson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So which one is it?
But I met Ava at the time I got. No, how could that be? I must have met Ava when I met Jeffrey. And then met Glenn when I got engaged. That's
So Ava would have been
10 years before,
early to mid 80s.
Yeah, whenever it was. And I think I was only with her once. With them once.
So you never, just to clarify one more name on here, you never spoke with Ghislaine Maxwell about Mr. Epstein or his criminal investigations of any kind?
Yep.
It had come out a few years ago now that Ohio State University did a review of their donations, and they identified a little over $300,000 in donations directly from Mr. Epstein and one of his foundations. Ohio State also reported a gift of approximately $2.5 million from the COUQ Foundation, which is another entity of Mr. Epstein's. Did you help facilitate any donations from Jeffrey Epstein to Ohio State University?
Never.
Did you personally ask Mr. Epstein to donate to Ohio State University?
Never.
Did you ever speak to any Ohio State University Board of Trustees members regarding Mr. Epstein or his donations to the university?
Never.
We discussed earlier in this deposition around the time frame of 2019, if you had any involvement with law enforcement as they investigated Mr. Epstein for his crimes he was ultimately charged with in New York. Just to clarify, did you speak to any law enforcement agency of any kind regarding Jeffrey Epstein's investigation in New York in 2019?
Never. Didn't. No, I don't remember ever talking to any law enforcement agency.
Did you ever provide any documentation to any law enforcement agency of any kind regarding Jeffrey Epstein and his investigation in New York in 2019?
Not to my knowledge.
And just to be clear, you never formally interviewed with anyone from the FBI or Department of Justice about Jeffrey Epstein or his criminal investigation in 2019?
Never.
Did Mr. Epstein ever contact you or attempt to contact you after his arrest in 2019?
I don't think so. He was dead.
Well, before he died?
No, I mean dead with me.
Understood. Did anyone affiliated with Mr. Epstein ever reach out to you in 2019 regarding his investigation in New York?
Never. No.
how did you first learn of Jeffrey Epstein's death in the MCC in New York City?
Probably watching CNN.
No one directly contacted you about his death?
No one ever contacted me about Jeffrey's death.
Did you ever have any reason to believe that Mr. Epstein's life was in any sort of danger?
No.
You mentioned in what is Majority Exhibit 3, your statement from this morning. On page 3, in the second to last paragraph, last sentence, while others visited Epstein in jail and associated with him after his release, I did not. Are you aware of who did in fact visit Mr. Epstein in jail during that time?
Directly, David Gergen told me he did after he did.
And can you remind us who David Gergen is?
David Gergen was professor of practice at the Kennedy School. He was advisor to 4 presidents of the United States, TV personality.
And did he tell you?
My friend.
Sorry, to cut you off. Did Mr. Gergen tell you anything about his visit to Mr. Epstein while he was incarcerated?
No, he just told me that he and his wife visited Jeffrey, and he asked me if I did, and I said no. I wouldn't visit that son of a bitch. I asked him why he did.
Did Mr. Gergen inform you as to why he went to visit Mr. Epstein while he was incarcerated?
That surprisingly, he said, like, you know, sometimes people that you're acquainted with get into trouble, and you should be kind or nice to them. Something that vague, which seemed completely out of character for Gergen.
Did you, what was your response to Mr. Gergen when he posed that to you?
I think I said, I'm surprised. Hey, you, David.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. You mentioned that David Gergen was a friend of yours. How do you characterize that Mr. Gergen was a friend? What made him a friend to you?
We probably met when he went to the Kennedy School from his job at the White House. And so he was like a professor of practice in the Center of Public Leadership. And then he became the director of the Center of Public Leadership. And that was one of my main interests is public leadership. And we became friends, and from very different backgrounds. And I didn't have much of an education, Yale, Harvard, working in the White House. And we became very close friends. And his wife reminded me after his funeral that we would talk every Sunday. And it was like, I know you might have friends or acquaintances you talk to regularly. I didn't even realize that we did that. We'd share books, talk about what was going on in the world. And it was very much a part of my life. And he was a wonderful person.
So he was someone you would communicate with frequently?
Well, if I was pitched out about the government, I'd call David, or we'd be talking about what was going on in the CPL, and we would talk about fundraising for CPL or interviewing professors for CPL, and raising money for fellowships. It was pretty much focused about government public interest things, because that we had in common. He was a lawyer, and I sold apparel. So
would you say that you talked to Mr. Gergen more frequently than you talked to Mr. Epstein,
Oh,
of
yes.
course, prior to you and Mr. Epstein terminating your,
Yeah, I talked to him more regularly. I wouldn't have remembered the repetition or the curiosity. Ann Gergen told me that after David's death, how much he looked forward to our Sunday calls. And I don't know, as you get older, sometimes you look back and somebody touches your life and you don't realize, that you're calling him every Sunday. Because I was just, like you brush your teeth every Sunday, I'd call him or he'd call me.
apologies, I'm gonna switch gears quite a bit here. We're discussing a lot earlier that the property that Mr. Epstein had owned that was, I believe you characterized as adjacent to your property, formerly Jack Kessler's house. When at any point did people need to use your gates or go through your property to access that house?
No, the properties weren't connected. There's kind of a woods between them and fields. There was no driveway. They were separate. It would be a struggle to walk between the two on foot.
Understood. Speaking about your boat design and manufacture and boat launch has been mentioned a couple times here today. Did Mr. Epstein ever travel with you or board your yacht at any point?
Not that I recall.
Did Miss Maxwell ever travel with you on that boat at any point?
Absolutely not.
Were there any other boat trips that you and Mr. Epstein would have taken together at any point?
None. I don't think I ever went anywhere on that boat without my wife and family.
Understood. Do you use any aliases or nicknames when you communicate with people you're associated with?
No, less. Sometimes I'll reach stuff with that. That's it.
Are you aware of Mr. Epstein having any aliases or nicknames that he would commonly use?
No.
Are you aware of Miss Maxwell having any aliases or nicknames that she would commonly use?
No.
When speaking about your boat, you seemed to be very certain that Miss Maxwell had never taken any type of boat trip with you. Is there a reason why you were more sure about her not attending any boat trips with you?
Because I couldn't be, I'm not sure that, I know that Jeffrey didn't take any boat trips with me. That's for sure. And so I might not have perfect recall, but I'm positive he never took any boat trips. So I'm positive that she never took any boat trips because I only saw her a couple of times in my life.
Understood. Are you aware of, back up first. Mr. Epstein did a lot of foreign travel. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
That's a kind of, I want to answer because I don't know what you'd be tricking me. I thought he traveled a lot. When I thought he traveled a lot, once I knew he was a fraud, I don't believe he traveled at all. He'd tell me he was in Switzerland, he'd tell me he was anywhere in the world, and I believed him. That sounded that you could have been in bed. I didn't know where he was calling from.
To the best of your knowledge, he would inform you that he was traveling all over the world.
Well, yeah, Saudi Arabia working for the king, and then Switzerland talking to banks, and I'm really busy and I'm tired, and he'd hang up. So he would reach out to me erratically, and sometimes frequently, but I never believed that he said, I didn't just If my wife told me she was in Chicago, I would believe it. If my lawyer said he was in Columbus, I would believe it. If I call Matt up, I don't ask my lawyer from Columbus. I say, are you in Columbus or are you, in bed or wherever the hell you are? And I think that was part of Jeffrey's con. And it just grinds the hell out of me that he was so busy. But I don't believe any of it now. I think it was complete bullshit. And it was part of the con.
Understood. Is it fair to say that Mr. Epstein would flout that he had foreign contacts, whether it be foreign dignitaries or contacts in foreign governments, something to that effect?
Do you mean flaunt?
Flaunt, yes, sorry, long ago.
It's been a long day.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge of Mr. Epstein holding citizenships in any other countries other than the United States of America?
No.
Have you ever seen Mr. Epstein possess any other foreign country's passport?
No.
That were in his safe.
Or any passport, including an American one.
If Mr. Epstein was talking about connections he had with foreign nations or entities, is there anyone he would most commonly refer to when speaking to you?
He, over the period of time, mentioned a lot of them. And somebody would repeat at some curiosity, somebody would mention once. But it's kind of a muddle of, but it was a pretty regular flow,
Was there anyone he mentioned more often than others?
more often. Maybe several times he mentioned the Queen of England.
The Queen of England?
Yeah, the one that died.
The Queen of England. What the hell?
Did you ever get the impression that Mr. Epstein was trying to get close with people of power, influence, wealth to better shield himself from any type of scrutiny?
How would he know that?
No, it seemed to me that was the milieu that he operated in. And so it made sense to me in terms of advice he was giving me. He was dealing with the most sophisticated people and they were his clients.
I'm going to stop it here and then we'll just keep going. Anyway, that's a little over an hour. I thought they would take a break so then we could just kind of cut it off. But anyway, I'm just going to stop. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.